Alan Christian here for Flickering Myth Gaming. If you know anything about me, you know that I am a huge Metroid fan. So today's release of Metroid Dread is practically a holiday for me. So to celebrate that release, I would like to take this time to give you my personal rankings for all of the current mainline Metroid games. That list includes the 4 mainline 2D games, which of course excludes Dread at this point, their remakes, and the Metroid Prime series. And for good measure, we threw in Other M for a total of 10 games. None of the spin-off games are here. No Metroid Prime Pinball, Federation Force, Hunters. Not out of any elitism. They never hit with me, so I don't feel like I can rank them. If you want, let me know your thoughts on those in the comments down below. And with that out of the way, let's dive right in. Number 10, Metroid, Other M. No surprise that this is bringing up the rear on our list. I don't want to be too harsh on this game as I never completed it. But by the same token, I'm a huge Metroid fan, and I didn't want to complete it. It's not a truly awful game, but its gameplay is distinctly un-Metroid. It made a lot of changes in service of telling a story, but unfortunately that story isn't very compelling, and its execution left a lot to be desired. The cool reception to this 2010 outing on the Wii more or less left this series dormant for the better part of a decade. Number 9, Metroid Prime 3, Corruption. In an attempt to shake up the Metroid Prime formula, you ended up with a Metroid game involving too much character interaction, and the multiple worlds made the gameplay feel disjointed. I also might be in the minority, but I found the Wii controls to be more of a turnoff. Yes, they're more versatile than the controls of the previous GameCube games, but they become a burden in extended play sessions, which is how I like my Metroid. For me, it was a sour note for Retro Studios to depart the franchise on, so I was very happy to hear that they were coming back for Metroid Prime 4. Number 8, Metroid Zero Mission. I might lose some people for putting this game so low on my list. Please understand that this is not to be contrarian. I know that this is many people's favorite Metroid game, and I don't dislike this game, but Zero Mission is an extended remake of the original NES title. And while yes, the original game was obtuse and was already showing its age, its environments and gameplay cycle had already been revisited in Super Metroid. While Super Metroid is officially Metroid 3, its goals were already to update and perfect the essential elements of Metroid 1, having the same bosses plus a few with refined exploration and save systems. Zero Mission essentially does the same thing, only it holds your hand more and retells the same story as Metroid 1 with a little more up front and a little more after. Metroid Zero Mission is a fine game, but while the idea was to be Metroid 1 but more, the ultimate product is Super Metroid but less. Number 7, Metroid Fusion. The direct predecessor to Metroid Dread, Metroid Fusion was a big departure from the Metroid games that came before it. Released on the Game Boy Advance in 2002, the same day Metroid Prime hit the GameCube and expanded the Metroid formula into a 3D space, Fusion took the 2D formula and turned the non-linear exploration experience into something a little more linear and a lot more guided. This doesn't make it a bad game at all, as the constant threat of the SAX and Samus's weakened state make for some tense and frightening moments. It strays from the tried and true, but it's an exceptional experience that stands on its own. Number 6, Metroid. Right near the middle of the list is the safest place to put the original NES Famicom outing. Purists will say it deserves a higher slot for birthing the genre, Modern gamers will deride it as being obtuse and dated. Both points of view are undeniable. A map, a reasonable save system, and an alternative to grinding for resources would do wonders for this game. It's still a solid experience that's worth revisiting, and one in which no one should feel the least bit of guilt in sneaking a little help from the internet. Number 5. Metroid Prime 2: Echoes. A direct sequel to 2002's Metroid Prime, Echoes builds on the formula it established and delivers a competent follow-up. While its added gameplay layer of swapping in and out of a parallel universe can get slightly tiresome, the boost in difficulty and the refinement of its predecessor systems makes this a game that everyone should go back to. Number 4. Metroid: Samus Returns. 2017's Samus Returns is a remake and reimagining of the original Metroid 2, a Game Boy title that was largely forgotten by time. It was also Metroid Dread developer MercurySteam's first shot at the franchise. It refined and modernized a game that was largely overlooked, breathing new life into one of the franchise's most unique outings. However, somewhere along the way, it lost the thread of the original's unique atmosphere and settled for what I can only refer to as generic Metroid, jettisoning the ambient soundtrack of the original for stock Metroid tunes, and perhaps fleshing out the isolated and unsettling SR388 a bit too much for my taste. Still, a top-tier Metroid experience. Number 3. Metroid Prime. The transition from 2D to 3D was the breaking point for most early gaming franchises. The Metroid franchise set out during the transitional 5th generation, returning early in the 6th gen with the first outing from Retro Studios. Metroid Prime jumped not only to 3D, but into a first-person perspective. This move was largely regarded as heretical, but Retro Studios pulled it off, despite a tumultuous development cycle. Metroid Prime successfully translated the atmosphere and the existing formula into a beautiful, immersive, and isolating experience. Number 2. Metroid 2: Return of Samus.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Metroid 2 was released on the original Game Boy in 1991. It is a game largely defined by its limitations. Its ability to exceed expectations for what the hardware could do is all very notable and should earn this game a place of high esteem. But it's the enduring quality of the gameplay, the atmosphere created by the lack of color and limited sound, and the new direction it pushed this franchise in that earns it the number 2 slot. The refining of Samus's movement, powers, and combat were absolutely key to the future of this series. The 2017 remake does not superannuate the original. It is still worth your time. Number 1. Super Metroid. This is the least controversial opinion I could possibly have. I don't need to defend Super Metroid. I didn't even write anything about Super Metroid. There's nothing to say about Super Metroid. It's simply one of the greatest games of all time. It is still the high watermark of the search action genre. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know how you feel about my list in the comments down below. I'm sure you will. Subscribe to Flickering Myth for more content like this.